Welcome to Meet the Author, a show where we explore the world through the imagination of talented writers. On this show, we will talk with authors from Laurel, Prince George's County. Welcome to Meet the Author. What do you get when you combine a thrill-writing author with a customer-focused publisher who loves to travel? Our guest today will share who she is and how she finds the time and has the passion to do all these things and do them well. Let's meet Robin McCormick. Hi, Robin. Glad to have you here today.
Hi, Christine. Thank you for having me.
All right. So I started briefly talking about a little bit about you, but share with the audience about who you are as a background information.
Well, I guess I can start with I'm a wife of going on 26 years now, a mother of two grown kids, a newly empty nester, so that's something different and new now for me. And I'm just, your average wife and mom that's just trying to live my best life.
Okay, sounds good to me, especially the empty nester part because I'm almost there too.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
Good.
so we'll talk more about your professions and the things that you do. So when did you become interested in writing and becoming an author?
I guess I could go back to middle school, actually, surprisingly enough. I used to write these little stories, and my girlfriend and I would take the school bus to school, and I would read her different parts of the stories as they were developing on our way to school. And then every day I would go home and write another part, and we'd come back. So I didn't even realize what I was doing at the time, but I was basically writing a book or becoming an author then, but I just did it for fun because I enjoyed it.
It's funny that you mentioned that. I think me and my girlfriend did the same thing. Look, we were using typewriters back in the day, and we would just write stories with each other. So I guess that's how we as women or young girls found ways to express ourselves.
Yeah.
So writing started then, but then how did you realize that you wanted to actually write a book?
So that came about later in life. I actually was taking a speech course in college, and everyone had to write a speech and deliver it in front of the class. So after I did my speech, the whole class stood up and gave me a standing ovation.
Okay.
And I was astonished. I was like, oh, wow, they're standing. So after class, my professor came to me and pulled me to the side, and she was like, you're a really good writer. Have you thought about creative writing before?
Okay.
And I said, well, I was right in the thick of school at the time, so I didn't really think about that. And I'm thinking, like, me, a creative writer, what, I'm gonna write a book? So I kind of brushed it off, but it really stuck with me over the years. And years later, I really thought about it. I had a dream, and some people dream in color, but I just say I dream in HD.
Okay.
So my dreams are really, really vivid. So one day I woke up and I had a complete book from start to finish in my mind. I jotted down notes and made me an outline, and then I started my journey. I said, I'm just going to do this thing.
Okay. So how long did it take from start to finish from that point? Do you remember?
Way longer than it should have, but life, right? But it probably took me a good 2 years from start to finish.
It's not too bad, actually.
Yeah.
Right. It was Cackastocracy your first book, or was there one before this one?
Cackastocracy is actually my second book.
Okay.
Jar of Hearts is my first baby. I call her like she's a female. But Cackastocracy is my second book.
Okay. So we have two books that you self-published?
Yes. Started off self-publishing too, and then later on I have done a children's book under my company.
Okay. So then we can transition to that. So you went through the self-publishing route as an author. So what made you decide to start your publishing company?
So as we all know, the pandemic hit. Everybody was home on lockdown. And, people started writing. They were looking for stuff to do with their time. And I noticed they started writing. I was getting all these phone calls from family members and friends asking me about writing, the writing process. Could I help them, looking for advice? So much so that I'm like, I'm giving away a lot of free information here. But I also, after finishing school and grad school, I was a business major and I have an MBA. I was looking at the time for a business to start. So, it kind of clicked for me, and I'm like, you know what, this could be a really good business for me to start. It's something I'm passionate about, something I love to do. I love helping people, help them write. And I decided that's when Quill and Company was born. It's a pandemic baby.
Okay, sounds good. And like I said, I understand totally because we helped our kids publish. And like you said, if people don't know and you can provide that service and that information to them, why not make a business out of it? So I understand totally. And so you said the name of your company is Quill and Company.
Quill and Company,
Okay.
yes.
And so what makes this a unique publishing company?
So Quill and Company, the name, some people ask me, where did the name come from? Well, you know, my name is Robin. So I wanted something, you know, that had to do with the bird.
Okay.
But then there's the quill, that, you know, the traditional writing tool. And I thought that was perfect, a perfect combination of my name and the company that I'm going to create. So what makes Quill and Company unique is when I was writing my books and I went through the writing process and I self-published, I stumbled through a lot of it. It was frustrating, confusing. I Googled this, I asked people that. But I got it done eventually, but it was frustrating. I didn't enjoy the process. The second one was easier, but I decided when I started this company, I didn't want people to have to go through what I went through. So I'd love to be able to help people help them create their manuscripts. The writing part is the big part that people seem to stumble on. So I like helping them develop those manuscripts and, you know, have a team of editors and illustrators, cover designers and everything, and just take the guesswork out for my clients.
Okay, well that's cool. And then, like I mentioned, you love to travel. So one thing I like, because we've been in different events and things together, that's how we met. So what I enjoy or what I appreciate and like is that you have the writing retreats. So share a little bit about how that came about and why you do that.
Yeah, the writing retreats are actually one of my favorite parts of my company because I do love to travel so much. I'm a Cancer, so I love to be by the beach, in the water, anytime, any day, right? So the writing retreats give people the opportunity to get away from the normal hustle and bustle of life. And the biggest complaint people have about not finishing their book is they don't have the time or they can't focus. You know, life is just too busy. So I like to create a space where they can get away from that. We can focus on writing techniques and tools and just writing, period. Just sit and have time to write in peace and quiet in a beautiful location where you can be inspired. So I love the writing retreats and people love them too.
Oh yeah, and I'm going. We talked about it a couple times. I am going.
There'll be many, many more to come for sure.
Don't leave me out. Definitely be there. Okay, so then we talked about you as a person and your being an author and your publishing company. But you know, I got to get into this book. So I was so excited when I had a chance to read it. And first of all, so it's written under a pen name. Share with us why you decided to go with the pen name for this particular book.
So my pen name is Amicia McCormick, and that's also my middle name. But Amicia is also my alter ego.
Your Sasha Fierce?
Yeah, my Sasha Fierce, right? So I originally, when I started writing Jar of Hearts, I decided to write under a pen name because, you know, it's a Christian fiction book, and so is Kakistocracy. But it has some racy scenes in it, some sex scenes, some cursing, some graphic situations, but you know, I also call it a realistic fiction because that's life, right? That's real life.
Right.
That's what we see and what we live on a normal basis. So why not? But it was, you know, some racy scenes in some of these parts. So I was like, I don't know if I want my mother or my grandmother to know I wrote this. So it started off that way.
Right.
But now Amicia has become sort of my, like I said, my alter ego and like my business mind, my inspirational persona. So she's the one is like the creative person behind Robin.
Okay, well that's good. Like you get separated, but like all of it's you, almost
It's
like
still
the
me.
Selena Montgomery for Stacey Abrams. So she's under the name like that. So I think that's a good idea. It kind of separates it, but we know who you are. We know what it is.
Yes.
Okay. So then another big question, you know, once you pick up the book, you're like, what is this big old word on the front of this book? So can you explain to us, and again, I like reading to learn things. So can you tell us what Kakistocracy means?
Yes, I know it's a tongue twister and everybody always butchers the name, but Kakistocracy, it means a government ruled by the least, oh Lord, look, here I am tongue-tied, but thinking of what it is. The least popular and ruled by people who are the most unscrupulous. and prepared for the position. So the name kind of came about because I had written the book, and I actually hadn't come up with the name of it first. And I was trying to think of what's a good name for it, what would stand out. And one day my girlfriend sent me, you know how you get those little desk blotters that have like the calendar and like the word for the day on it. She had posted that, and I saw the name, and I'm like, what does this name mean? And it has a definition under it, and I saw the definition, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's perfect for the book that I'm writing. So, and I told her later, after I wrote the book, I was like, I got this name from you, right? But it just came to me that way, and it just fit the story perfectly.
And it does, like the way, so when I thought about it, when I read the definition and when I read the book, I thought about the movie Idiocracy. My husband loves that movie, but it's like, it's not quite that far. But it made me think about that. So, okay, I delved into the book. So it's dubbed, I read the back, I delved into the book. It's dubbed as a thrilling fiction. I like that you have your characters, they're woven together, and just listening to the story. So if I'm honest, like I said, it sounds like familiar, like a former president we may have had. So I was trying to see if it was any ties there. But then when I read that it was about slavery, I was like, how is she going to make this a modern day topic? Like, nobody's going to sign up to be a slave, right? So how did you come up with the premise for this in this modern day time?
So I had heard somewhere, someone made mention of this act or something that existed, that every president had to review and make sure that they wanted to either keep it abolished or change it when they come in office. And I always thought that was interesting, of whether slavery could be reenacted. And then it was never a big deal or a big question until the time where a certain president was running for office. And while I was writing the book, it was funny because I started it before President Trump actually started to campaign. Okay. And as I'm writing it, and it took me a good year and a half or so to write it, and it was like while I'm writing it, things were unfolding, in modern media. And I just started to like pick and pull different things together, and it just kind of came about organically, and it was just perfect. I took things out of the media, put some twists on some things, but I really wanted to create that sense of, could this really happen type of thing, and if so, how? And then I hopefully I did a good job at
yeah, but
creating
it was
that.
Interesting. Like I said, the way things played out, so it was realistic, of course. And then I was like, wow. So it gives them a reason to pick the book up and see how you made that happen. And so we talked about what you were writing about during that time. So was it you were inspired by something in particular to write this book?
So this particular book, what really inspired me is because the climate that was going on in the country at that time. There was a lot of racial separation. There was and not just between races, but within our races as well. So what I wanted to do is really create a book that helped us see what unity is again. Okay. There was a time in slavery where we didn't have anything but each other, and we had to lean on each other for resources, for support and things like that. So I wanted to remind people of that again and help them, cut away all the things in life that don't really matter, and come back to the basics of helping each other get to a better place. Okay,
and it's interesting that you said that, because I can see that when you're talking and I remember the book, I can exactly see like how that worked out. So yeah, I just hope people pick this up and read it. It's not a very big book. It's a nice size, 100 or so pages. So it's nice topics, interesting topics, good read. So I think they will be pleasantly pleased with reading this. And so what would you tell someone out there who's thinking about writing a book, if they can? After you've gone through writing a book, you have your own publishing company, share some nuggets of wisdom.
Oh, I would say just that they can. I know when I first started to think about writing, it seemed like this huge monumental task. And, some of my clients, they run into that when I'm talking to them too. When I first meet with them, they just feel like, and I felt like, like, can I do this? The whole imposter syndrome, like, am I really an author? But I did have a mentor who told me, like, yeah, you can do it. Like, just do it. Stop
Right.
thinking that you can't, and just, put one foot in front of the other and just go for it. And that's why, I created Quill and Company too, to help people get over those hurdles. Because some people think they're not an author per se or a writer, but that's where I kind of come in and help them, clean up a manuscript or give them some coaching, writing coaching and things like that. Because I say everybody has a story inside of them.
The same thing.
Every single person has a story, and some people may just not know how to turn that into a book. But I fill in those gaps for them. So, yeah, that's what I would tell them.
Sounds good. Now, with you being a writer and working in publishing, are you still going to write books, or are you going to focus more on the publishing, or how is that playing out for you now?
Right now, I am focusing on my clients. I just get so much joy out of helping people. I see them come in with a vision and they can't see how it's going to turn into a book. And then to be able to deliver a finished product to them is like, how that feels. It's the best feeling in the world. So right now, I'm focusing on other people and clients right now. I do still always have books in the back of my mind, and I'm like, okay, wait. I gotta, I got stuff to do. But there's always, the wheels are always turning for me for a book, but something will come later, I'm sure.
And I know you've done book signing and things for your clients. Do you have any upcoming events that you'd like to share right now?
I'm currently planning for my next writing retreat next year, so stay tuned. That's in the works. I'm not going to divulge the location yet, but it's going to be a really nice location. It'll be something different than I normally do, and I'm looking to add more next year as well, and maybe do some smaller events. But yeah, that's what's coming up soon.
Okay. So on that note, so since you're not giving away specific information, what they can do is reach out to you, join your website, things like that. So just share your contact information with our viewers, how they can get in touch with you, and of course, get your book.
Absolutely. So my website is quillandcompany.com. My social media information, Instagram is quillandcompany_. My phone number for Quill and Company is 240-389-0299, and you can ask for Robin.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Robin. Like I said, I read Jar of Hearts already, and this one we decided to talk about for this episode, and this was really, really interesting. Like I said, it drew me in, and it was very on point. So thank you so much for being here and for sharing that, and we look forward to hearing more from you later.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Do you know what an ISBN is? The letters stand for International Standard Book Number. And it is a unique numeric book identifier, much like a Social Security number for a U.S. citizen or a VIN number for a vehicle. A unique ISBN is assigned to each separate edition and variation of a book. For example, a paperback, an ebook, and hardcover edition of the same book will each have a different ISBN. That's 3 numbers for the same book. This number is important because it ensures maximum discoverability, and it facilitates the sale of your book in retail stores, bookstores, and libraries. So as an author, setting up an ISBN is one of the most important things you can do. Kakistocracy by Amicia McCormick is an interesting twist on the old tale of slavery. As I was reading it, I kept wondering, how would she get modern-day individuals to participate in slavery? But let me tell you, she did a masterful job of captivating the audience by setting up the story, by being quite relevant, and having twists and turns along the way. So you have to check out how she did it. I would like to thank Robin for joining me today and sharing her author and publishing journey. Since Robin is from Laurel, we hope to hear more about the things that she will have going on in and around the area. If you are an author and would like to be featured on our program, you can send an email to cmjohnson@laurel.md.us or call 301-725-5300, extension 2110. We would love to have you on the show. I'm Christine Johnson, reminding you to open a book and let it take you on your next adventure. Hello, and welcome to Meet the Author, a show where we explore the world through the imagination of